Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together, we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up, because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose.
All right, we're back with another great episode of All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and this is where we turn obstacles into opportunities. Got a guest with us today that I'm excited to talk to, Rob Tracz. I should have asked you how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, it's all good. Trazy. That's how I believe it's pronounced. Funny story. I guess we can kind of dive into that later if it comes up in conversation.
I would love to. Let me tell everybody how awesome you are first.
Sure.
So Rob Tracz. No shit. Oh, that's awesome, dude. All right. So Rob is he's now a fitness coach. He's a speaker. He specializes in helping driven entrepreneurs break through stagnation to achieve success, holistic success. I can identify with that. As the founder of Prime Performance Coaching, Rob guides clients to look good, feel good, and do great things by blending physical, mental, and emotional strategies that foster resilience, clarity, and peak performance, which is all tough to do. With a focus on creating awareness and avoiding burnout. Burnout, there's that word. Rob's methods empower entrepreneurs to elevate their lives and business simultaneously. So, we'll have some actionable insights here. We'll get some tips from Rob, and then some strategies about transformation. And a lot of times that physical transformation is something that we need, especially as busy entrepreneurs. So Rob's going to help us thrive personally and professionally. So Rob Tracz, tell me about that name. And I love that I didn't know how to pronounce your name. I think that's funny as shit. It's like,
No, I mean it's a tricky one. So like as I said earlier, I'm not even 100% sure how to pronounce it. I remember growing up and my parents got divorced when I was super young, and when I was spending time with my dad, I'd be like, I think the divorce started when I was 6, and I think it was finalized and everything, and my sister, my mom, and myself had moved away when I was around 8 or 9.
okay.
But I just remember like asking my dad all the time, like, oh, how do I, like teachers are mispronouncing it in school. They're asking me to correct it. And I'm asking my dad, like, how do you actually say it? He was always telling me, I got shortened at Ellis Island. So you could just, whatever you want to. And I'm always like, okay, well, that's helpful. But like, how do you say it? And he's like, just whatever. I change it up every once in a while. I'm like, what? How do you go through life doing that? So long story, I just continued asking him for years and years and years, and he just kind of kept beating around the bush. And unfortunately, he passed away back in 2017 and never gave me what he officially calls it or says it. So I believe it was much longer. Some people who are Polish or Ukrainian, they pronunciate it like Tracz or Trace, I guess some people say. So I don't know. I just kind of go what most people kind of say over the years.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on the dialect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good story. All right, so we think about fitness coach. Here's the thing, just kind of getting right into it. And obviously, I'm sure you've got some stuff to share with us. I want to make sure we cover that. Like when you think about fitness coaches, people don't often associate that with business. It's just some super fit dude that can tell me how to get fit, but it's a business, and it's not an easy business from my perspective. Obviously, I'm not a fitness coach. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. So To quick little background on me, my background education is I got my undergrad in kinesiology, which for listeners who might not know is the study of human movement. And then I got my master's degree in exercise science with a concentration in injury prevention and performance enhancement. So that's a lot of like biology, understanding movement patterns and really knowing how the body moves and adapts under different stressors and such. But they don't teach you anything about business. So when I got to the point where I started to be like, hey, I want to do this on my own in my own light, all I knew was like squats and deadlifts and bench press. So it was difficult for me to kind of learn what I needed to do from a business standpoint, but then also from like an entrepreneur standpoint. And a lot of the principles that I teach in my prime performance coaching to other entrepreneurs is lessons that I learned from the gym and from different sports teams, because some of those principles are universal. They carry over, like building resilience so that you can have the confidence and competence to handle the different things that life throws at you, making sure that you're consuming with intentionality, not just the foods that you eat, but also the content, like the digital nutrition, I like to say. So like the books, the podcasts, are you listening to great things like this podcast, or are you just rocking out to music that leaves you kind of depressed and mopey? There's different things for different people at different stages, and a lot of the principles that I share carry over into different areas of the world.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. And I work out. That's one of my non-negotiables. And as an entrepreneur, you can apply those same principles. Without sounding too ridiculous, it's like do the hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right, so we got 5 sets of 20 Bulgarian split squats. Nobody wants to do that.
No.
Nobody. But you just have to do the first one. So then you got to do you got to call a customer back that's complaining, it's going to be miserable. Just dial the number. You just have to start. So I can definitely relate to that. And the longer you put it off, like the longer I dick around in the gym and pull on bands and do dead bugs, the harder those Bulgarian split squats seem.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there is definitely a parallel. But you started, if I recall now, doing like one-on-one training. Is that right?
Yes. So in the world of strength and conditioning, I had started with small group training for different sports and like high school sports. And then from there got into one-on-one sports performance training. And then that led into high-level athletes, and then working with the athletes, their parents would kind of watch, and then that would encourage them to get into it. And then that's how I was introduced to personal training. And from there, I started working with the younger kids. And I've worked with people in the realm of strength and conditioning. I've worked with people as the youngest person I've ever worked with was 3, and the oldest person I've ever worked with was 86. So I've got a wide range, different sports, different things, different needs, and it's been a pretty exciting journey.
So not only are the needs different, but identifying the needs is really your job. So that's different. A lot of people don't know what their needs are when it comes to physical fitness.
Yeah, it's tough. It's being able to really learn and just kind of take in on what other people are coming from, what they're trying to get to, really trying to understand what they're trying to communicate too. Because sometimes people come in, they say they want one thing or they mean something else, but there's something else underlining there, and you kind of learn to kind of pick up some of that stuff from other context clues and conversation pieces that you have, and you eventually get to pry it out. Like for example, when I first started my to shift into the performance coaching world, I was working with this guy who came to me. He was just looking to lose a little bit of weight. And that was about 3 years ago, and he's down the weight, but now his goals are finishing his novel. He's been writing this book for like 10 years, and now he's finally getting the first draft finally done. He's also gotten out. He's speaking on stages, doing different things, and it's crazy because he came to me originally just to lose a little bit of weight, look a little bit better, feel a little bit better. But really, what he was looking for was more connection with more audience, and to get some of these things that he's had in his head out onto paper and out to the world to share his message.
Oh, that's interesting. So I wonder if you were helping him build his confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of that whole first principle of that resilience. Once you're looking good, you have that confidence and you can start to do those other things. You're feeling more comfortable. Your comfort zone just expands, right? So the
Right.
more comfortable you are with discomfort, it just continues to grow, and then you handle a lot of those other things.
Yeah. I know one of the things, like you talked about, one of your resilience principle, and you help like with burnout too, which I suspect somewhere in your history you've got some experience with that. Am I accurate?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, once I started, I got my first taste of entrepreneurship when I had gotten a salary job, and I like realized that my performance in the facility had decreased terribly. Like I was the guy who was like mopping floors after every hour, cleaning everything's up, making the numbers all tidy and such. And as soon as I got a salary position, I dropped all that stuff. And it's not saying that I was lazy or I was just too comfortable. It's just when I noticed that, I was like, man, that's not who I am, because throughout my entire life and different sports teams, I've always been a leader or a captain type figure. And I usually lead by example. And I had to have that little talk with myself, like, hey, dude, you got to pick this up and you can't just get relaxed here. So that's when I went out and picked up another job to kind of fill up more things, and constantly pushing myself and taking on new challenges. And then once I had moved into another position where I could fully control my schedule and I was making more money the more hours that I wanted to work, it didn't take long for me to quickly scale that book of clients up to the point where I was working 15, 16-hour days, working with upwards of like 20 people in a day, back-to-back sessions. And I did that for 7 days a week for about 3 years straight. And I got really good at doing those things, at coaching, fitness, and strength and conditioning. But at the same time, I was stuck in what I call robot mode. So I was efficient, getting a lot of work done, seeing the success that I thought I wanted. But at the same time, I was losing a lot of human mode or myself. And then it wasn't until my father passed away when I had to reflect on what my life had really became, and I had to decide, like, okay, this is where I need to change some things around, because my health is not where I'm at, and I'm supposed to be like a role model for a lot of these individuals.
Yeah.
I'm just like eating and drinking terribly, barely any sleep, running on caffeine, and like it was a mess. And coming back to the whole resilience and challenge and how burnout can kind of pull you, or how building resilience and accepting challenges can pull you out of that burnout. The position I was in, I wasn't growing, because I felt like I had already known everything there was about exercise science and everything there was about coaching. And for where I was with my business, everything that I needed for my business, I was there. So there was no challenge for me. So I was stuck because there's nothing for me to get traction against, because everything was smooth sailing. And until I started to challenge myself in new ways, I continued to spin the wheels. But once I started to introduce a few new things, pushing myself, trying to learn new things, that's when I started to catch on. And then my whole brain and thought process expanded. And I was like, oh, I can make more money by doing this, or maybe I should introduce this supplement line, or maybe I should do this. And then eventually it led into this entire career change where now I'm doing different things, speaking on stages and traveling around the country, teaching leadership and still communication and things like that. And it all started because I started to challenge myself and build that resilience again.
Yeah. Yeah, which is awesome. A lot of people will hide from challenge. I love to hear folks that kind of chase down the challenge. That's what I call go to the danger. Like there was some times where I had to do that. It's going to suck, or it's not what you want to hear or what you want to do, but you just go to the danger. So is that like around that time? Is that when you developed your 6 principles?
That's when things started to begin to develop.
Okay.
Because it was a journey for me as I was kind of growing and really launching my personal brand. I've been kind of building this thing for a little while now, and I was still heavy into the fitness and nutrition, but I knew there was more to it than just like the deadlifts and squats and things like that. And as I continued,
and the bench, don't forget the bench press.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. And so I knew I needed to kind of dig into it a little bit more. And then it was a lot of reflection, and had to dig into figuring out what my values were as a human, and seeing what's helped me like achieve success over the years with different adventures and projects that I've worked on. And it was really compiling it all together into like these principles that I see are universal across different things. So in the gym, entrepreneurship, podcasting, networking, relationships, etc., all those things. And I fully believe that these 6 principles really carry over and help you get unstuck, or at least start to get that traction moving forward.
Yeah. Can you list the 6 principles for us?
Yeah. So the first one is resilience, so building that confidence and competence. Second one is intentionality, so with what you're consuming, both nutrition and dietary nutrition and digital nutrition. Number 3 is clarity, which is the focus, understanding where you're going and how to get there. Number 4 is optimization, so specifically your rules and routines, or your habits and schedules and things like that. Number 5 is your social, so social capital and social influence and being able to communicate. And number 6 is luck, really. It's luck creation. So how to create opportunity, or how to keep your eyes open for opportunity and bring yourself to that next stage, whatever it may be.
Yeah. So I love the last 2, specifically luck. Like the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Yeah, it's magic, right?
And then your social, what'd you call it? Your social.
Yeah, social capital and social
influence. Capital.
Yeah,
we particularly, like I'm speaking for myself for sure, but I think particularly as men, we ignore social capital. And by that you mean like friends, your social network, right? Like the kind you can touch and talk to. Yeah, and that's huge.
Yeah. A lot of people, I mean, I maybe just from my sample size of friends, the guys, they try to attack entrepreneurship and it's like the lone wolf, like, oh, I don't need anybody else's help, I'm going to do this myself. And I always think of my one buddy, and he had like a laser engraving business where he'd like put different logos on for different people and things on like Yetis and different coolers and stuff. And he got to a point where he had so many orders coming in, and it was slowing down how much money he could make because he was responding to every single email. And I was like, dude, why don't you just hire your sister or have somebody else answer the emails and put the orders on like automation so you can start pumping these things out faster? And he was like, no, nobody can answer an email quite like I can. I don't want anybody else answering these emails. I'm like, dude, answering emails, like that's like one of the easiest things you can delegate.
Right.
Like if you can't get past that, your business is going to be stale for a while.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the Philippines. That's that one's easy. And it's funny. It's like a pride issue. Mm-hmm. Like if I ask for help, then I'm weak. It's funny how we look at that. It's just, I mean, funny, peculiar, not funny. Ha ha. So I know one of the things that you specialize in is helping entrepreneurs overcome problems like stagnation in their personal and in their professional lives. Let me tell you what I see, and then you can tell me if I'm accurate. How about that?
Sure.
This will be a fun game. What I see with entrepreneurs is like that hedonic treadmill where they have a goal, right? Here's my goal. My goal is to have top line revenue of $1 million. And then they hit top line revenue of $1 million. And then their goal is top line revenue of 1.5. And so they hit that. And then their goal is, I want to be a multi-million-dollar company. And then they hit that. And there's no fulfillment. There's no satisfaction. It's just these arbitrary goals. And to me, I've seen that lead to stagnation, burnout, disappointment. Do you see the same things, or do you see something? Do you see a much bigger picture than I do?
Oh, definitely. I see that all the time when they're just chasing like financial goals and they're just looking to like squeeze out and try to get just pushing whatever it takes to get to that next level. And oftentimes it is sacrifice coming at their own expense, whether that is more hours or family time or whatever it may be, their health, their food, like digest, like everything. Like usually it's easy to sacrifice ourselves for that quick boost of I got to hit these goals, but then the goalpost just gets pushed back once you do hit that, and then it's tougher and tougher and tougher, because then you're shaving yourself down, and then you get stuck into that robot mode, like I was saying before. And the robot mode is not bad, because that's where you optimize and you're working efficiently, and you do have to sacrifice a lot of yourself for certain times. But
are you feeling stuck? Overwhelmed? It's like you're fighting against something that you can't even see or name. I've been there, literally. I survived sudden cardiac death, and I rebuilt everything. I've mastered the art of controlling the chaos. Now I coach a small group of high performers that are willing to do the work to do the same thing. No fluff, no excuses, we just get results. If you're ready to take back control, apply now at jeffluther.com. This is all can, no can.
If you lack that awareness of when is enough, and like how much of myself am I losing, then that's when it becomes a problem. And that's where the burnout comes in, and then you're looking to figure out like, okay, how do I get to this next level? And you don't have enough resource left to kind of allocate to figuring out how to get to that next level.
Yeah. And then I've heard someone say it, I think Daniel Pink, maybe. Then we're human doings. We're not human beings. And that's all we do, is we just do and do and do. So let's talk a little bit about the connection between physical resilience and entrepreneurial success. Like, how do you, because a lot of people silo those. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs that sacrifice their health at the success of their business. And then also, like, I'm really bad about judging entrepreneurs that don't take time to focus on their physical health. I'm like, well, how good of a business person can you be? How tight of a ship do you run if you're not going to take time out for yourself and take care of your physical health? So how do you coach your clients to kind of build both of those, their entrepreneurial success and their physical health?
Yeah, I wrap the physical health in with just the overall challenges and stressors that you're bringing on. So the different things that you're kind of learning and pushing yourself, because like some people, they don't like going to the gym, but as long as they're still taking care of themselves, pushing themselves, like getting out, going for walks and taking that physical approach, that's still going to be a great aspect. Because like you said, like you're your billboard. So if you don't show up and if you don't take yourself seriously enough to take care of yourself, how are other people going to trust that you're going to be able to take care of them or with their products and things like that, whatever it may be. But so when people come into me and they're looking to kind of grow and push a little bit, and I see a lot of emotional up and down, or they're physically exhausted, and there's ways to improve through physical change and challenge and things like that. I like to sit them down and kind of review what I call the resilience matrix. It's kind of like a graph chart, asking a couple questions to kind of see where they pinpoint themselves on the amount of cognitive challenges that they're choosing to take on, and then also the physical challenges that they're choosing to take on. If you were to imagine like a square, and it's divided into 4 quadrants, the top left quadrant is going to be your burnt out. So the y-axis going vertically, that's how much cognitive challenge that you're taking on, whether that's new assignments, trying to learn a new language, new hobbies.
The higher up we get, the more cognitive challenge.
Yes. So that you can think of that as like the heat thermometer. Okay. And then the x-axis going across is the physical. So how long hours are you going to the gym? How run down are you? Your routines, you're working out? Are you challenging yourself with like cold plunges? You taking care of your recovery? All those things. That's going to help plot your x-axis as well. And depending on your Y and your X axis, where that lands, you're going to either fall into one of those 4 quadrants. Either the burnt out, which is the top left, so not enough physical challenge and too much cognitive challenge. Or you're going to be in the bottom right, which is too much physical and not enough cognitive, so the opposite side. Got it?
Yep.
And then if you're too much of both, you're just totally exhausted, totally crushed. That's going to be the top right. And if you don't have enough challenge in either cognitive or physical, you're going to be in the bottom left, and that's the complacent corner. So that's where you're kind of just smoothly going through. So bring that back to when I was first experiencing burnout. There was no challenge. I wasn't reading anything to keep myself up to date in the strength and conditioning world because I knew everything there was to know. So I wasn't challenging myself with new modalities, new theories, or schools of thought or anything. So my cognitive challenge was depleted. I also wasn't training myself because I was too busy helping others all day long. So I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't training my own strength. There was nothing pushing me physically other than the long hours. So that landed me in that bottom left complacent corner. And that stalled me because I couldn't go. Then there was another time where once I started shifting gears and I'm like, okay, I got to start taking myself a little more serious, pushing myself. This one period I challenged myself every year for my birthday to really push my extremes.
Okay.
I don't like running. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to run for 24 hours and as far as I can. So I went out for one of these things. This was before I knew about like the David Goggins thing and all that stuff. And at the same time, I was trying to learn Spanish. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to use Duolingo. I'm going to do this the whole time while I'm doing this. This is going to be great. So my cognitive challenge was through the roof because I'm just listening to Spanish, doing all this 24/7. And then I'm also running for 24/7. So I was in that totally exhausted period there. So that was like terrible because I couldn't focus on getting anything else done because I was trying to prioritize all these random things. And that also prevented me. So the key is to figure out that sweet spot right in the middle. Because right in that middle, you're a cross between everything, and that's the diamond zone. So just like diamonds are created under immense amount of heat and pressure, if you think of that resilience matrix as that gauge, the cognitive is that heat temperature, and the pressure for the physical is kind of like the pressure gauge. So you want to land in that diamond zone right in the middle where you're challenging yourself to get better. You can grab that traction and get better and move forward, but not enough to leave you totally crushed.
Yeah. Did you make the 24 hours? Did you run for 24 hours?
I ended up having to take a little bit of a breather for about a few hours from like midnight to like 4:35. But I did set a personal best. My previous longest run I've ever done was 27 miles. And in that period there, I made it 53 miles.
Oh my God. That's a lot of miles.
Yeah, I mean, you're a distance guy though, so that's like for somebody who doesn't train or anything. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. My longest run previously and in the 6 months prior to that was a 5-mile run.
That's crazy. I bet. So the muscles in your feet and your hips were probably the worst part. Am I right?
My hips were killing me because first my calves started to go and they started swelling. And then like I was just kind of like trying to spring as much as I could, but my ankles and my calves started locking up. And then my hips were trying to take over as much as I could with like shuffling. And it got to the point where it was tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a lot. Okay, so I want to go back to luck. Okay. Luck is like I'm big on, you become what you think, or like thoughts turn to things, beliefs turn to things. Let's choose the good ones. I'm really big on that. How do you help entrepreneurs create opportunities and quote luck in their business journey?
Yeah, so once we're rolling through and we've been working together and you're really dialing in, you're taking care of yourself in all those other ways. So you're challenging yourself. You're intentional with all your inputs. You're clear on where you're trying to get to. You know what it takes to get those steps forward, and you're executing on those. And you're also surrounding yourself with A-team players, and you've got all that stuff and you're constantly working on building those relationships and all those other things. That's all that preparation stuff. So you're just constantly showing up as the best version of yourself there. And then it's just opening the eyes and looking around, because that idea that I feeling like competition's kind of a dead idea now, because even like in the world of fitness and training, I would look at other trainers as an opportunity to collaborate and connect and work together. So when I first moved down into Stamford, Connecticut, where I'm located, I moved into this building and I put out a message on the board saying, hey, are there any personal trainers in the building? And connected with one person. And instead of like competing against each other, I asked her if we could collaborate, if we could do a little bit of like a project for the entire building. She could talk about nutrition. I would talk about mobility. We would work together, get a bunch of people together. And then from there, people float to you because how you can relate and connect with others. So looking at that as an opportunity of not competition, but collaboration, and finding other ways to keep the eyes open. Where can you give back or show up early to other people's events and help others spread their word and their projects? And how can you create those opportunities? For example, I got a buddy who's hosting his personal development conference here in 2 weeks. And when his first conference was coming up, he was trying to sell tickets and things like that. So I bought a bunch of tickets to help him. And then I started giving them out to some of my friends and my clients and things like that. And because of that, I continued to show up. I showed up early, helping out, staying late, any way possible, and became such good friends with this guy that he started funneling clients to me, because he's like, this guy Rob is great. He not only does all this stuff about helping others get better at what they need to be getting at, but he helps me with the things that I need to do too. And everybody's unique, so everyone's going to have different opportunities around them. But it's about really opening the eyes and looking what is around you and seeing how you can collaborate and how you can create opportunities out of nowhere.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great idea. That's totally the servant attitude, right? You show up and help. Come from a place of giving. All right, so entrepreneurs are kind of your niche. Entrepreneurs are too busy and they focus on whatever the next thing is. They can hide a lot in work. What are some practical strategies that you could offer? And I have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen here. What are some practical strategies you could offer some of our listeners and entrepreneurs to, like to maintain energy, to have a clear mind, have a good mindset, to keep their physical fitness while still managing what they would consider a demanding business?
Yeah, I think the best thing really is to, I guess it kind of depends on who the individual is, but if they're coming in and they're looking to try to stay motivated and keep the discipline and grind going forward. I run a lot of my clients and even friends through, and people at workshops and things, through the Pirates flag framework that I run through. And big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, so I put the Pirates flag there, but the acronym FLAG. So sitting down and really digging deep into yourself and understanding what your foundational values are. That's the first letter in FLAG, F. Okay. Foundational values. Do you know what your personal values are?
I struggle with that. I think so. Mine really are around doing the right thing. Do the right thing and lead with kindness.
Yeah, I love that. And it's tough though. Like if you're not totally dialed in with it, and when I started reading a lot more about businesses and understanding core values of different businesses, I was like, yeah, I always understood that, like honesty, trustworthiness, and like discipline, those things. But I dug deeper into it to figure out, okay, what is it that I actually hold valuable and stand true to? And for me, I kept coming back to progress towards mastery. So making sure that I'm always pushing and trying to get a little bit better. Seeking adventure. So whatever I'm doing, making sure that I'm having fun with it, because if I'm not having fun, I'm gonna just lose interest.
Yeah.
And then contribute often. So making sure that I'm able to give back to others and help out in other ways whenever possible. It doesn't need to be donations in a financial way, but also can I dedicate time to show up early or help spread the word or whatever it may be. And then my last one really is embody freedom. So making sure that whatever decisions I'm choosing, that they're actually my decisions, and because I want to. I don't want to feel obligated because somebody else is pressuring me or something like that. And then that's how I came to my personal values, is that progress through mastery, adventure, contribution, and freedom, really. And once I dialed that in, that makes a lot of other decisions easy. So when I go through this flag thing, sorry if I was getting a little off there.
No, I love that. Yeah, that's
figuring
great.
out those foundational values, and then we move into L, which is lifestyle traits. So that first one, the values, can be a little hard sometimes, and then lifestyle is like, okay, what are the things that we use that make us unique? So this one's a little more fun. Like, okay, what's your favorite color? What kind of food do you like to eat? Favorite movie, vehicle, things like that. And then digging in like, okay, well, why? So Rob, why is your favorite color red? I'd be like, all right, well, red can be tough for like aggression. It could be cool. It could be for passionate. It could be love. It could be these different things. And that's kind of why I like the color red. And then it's like, all right, well, why do you drive a Jeep Wrangler? That's cool. You can take the roof off. You can take the doors off. You can go off-roading. You can get different colors and like this, that, and you can make it unique to you. And that goes back to my value of that embodying freedom, making sure you can express yourself the way you want to. And then you start to dig into a little bit more, like, okay, I like sushi. Sushi's great. It's got healthy fats. It's got good proteins. It's got carbohydrates. You can get different kinds of rolls and things. And just learning more about what makes you unique from the lifestyle traits and lifestyle habits that you like to do. And then dialing into the next letter, which is A, aspirations. So what are your goals? Why are these your goals? Where are you trying to get to? For me, when I was burnt out, it was always just that financial goal. I just wanted to make more money because I thought having more money would get me more attention from my parents, from the girls, from my friends. Having more money would bring more attention. Yeah. But when I realized that what I really wanted was just more attention and helping and connecting with more people, then it doesn't become as much of a financial goal. It becomes more of an impact goal. And how do I touch base with more people? How do I communicate, share my experiences with more people? Now it shifts a lot of the decisions for my business in different ways that I'm going. And then the last one is G, which is growth opportunity. So essentially running a SWOT analysis on yourself and figuring out, what are you good at? Like I said earlier, I've always found myself in a leadership role on sports. And so talking in front of crowds or teams has always been pretty easy for me. So then transitioning into my career as a speaker wasn't as hard as most people might think, because it comes a little more natural to me. However, on the other side, like tech and like that I'm terrible with, and creativity, I've got like no skill. So thank God for ChatGPT and helping me out being creative. But like for my podcast, it's hard because I didn't know how to edit. It would take really long, and that just wasn't for me. So I knew I needed to find somebody who could help me with that, because that's not one of my strengths. And now flipping that weakness into a positive, because now I have somebody who does all that for me at a much faster rate, so we can continue to get better episodes out to more people. And then boom, right there is my flag. You got my values, got my lifestyle, got my goals, and got my growth opportunities. Now I can direct myself with different projects and decisions that I have. Like, for example, I'm in the middle of a 2-week period where I have an event every single night. And I didn't necessarily need to go to this dinner tonight, this men's personal development dinner, but I know that it's aligned with, it only comes around once a month with these guys. So I want to make sure that I did make the time to go to them. I can connect, I can help solve other people's problems, and I can show up to contribute myself and my experiences. So although I wanted to take the night to just chill, I know that this is really aligned with myself. So I can push through, because I know next week things are going to calm down and I won't have as many events and things to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't be. I mean, that's and then you have 2 weeks straight with something every night. All right, so your entrepreneur's busy. A lot of times that's an excuse. I heard you mention walking earlier. I think walking is one of the most underutilized, underrated exercises that we all kind of poo-poo on. But leave us with like a practical tip, something entrepreneurs could do. Hey, I'm out of shape. I don't feel good. I'm overweight. I just want to start with baby steps. What's something just totally off the cuff that you'd recommend they start with?
I mean, this might be a blanket statement, but I would just start with something that you actually like doing. So like if you're a guy and you just want to do some bicep curls, like just get a pair of dumbbells and just knock out some bicep curls. Like I knock out a couple reps of reverse lunges and curl to press before sales calls. And that just gets me going if I have a day where it's back to back and I can't get down to the gym. But figuring out what it is that you like to do, if it's push-ups, if you have time to go for walks, if you like rock climbing, try out rock climbing or like try something, whatever it is you like.
Yeah.
And just try to figure out a way to get yourself moving a little bit more.
That's a really good point because we tend to focus on where am I going to get the most return, and probably doing something that you like is going to give you the best return. I don't ever think about it that way. All right, man. So where can people find you?
Yeah, the easiest place to connect with me is just Instagram or LinkedIn. Hang out there the most.
Okay.
Second easiest place to kind of check in and see what's going on and different things is my podcast over at survivingthesidehustle.com. It's also on like Apple, Spotify, and things like that. But yeah, the easiest place is social media.
Cool. All right. What's your Instagram handle?
It's just my name, Rob Tracz, ROBTRACZ.
And that same thing on LinkedIn. We can find you there.
Yeah.
All right. And podcast one more time.
Surviving the Side Hustle.
Cool. Dude, this has been great. Thank you so much for carving out some time. The exercise piece, the entrepreneurship, it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. Obviously, you share the same thing. So thanks for your insights.
Of course. Appreciate you having me on today. This was fun. Sorry for a little running on some of those parts, but I loved it. This was fun.
Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. And this, it's very clear that you have a niche in coaching as entrepreneurs in both. A lot of people want to take the entrepreneur and coach them in the fitness, but to me, there's such a parallel, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. So.
I appreciate that.
All right, this has been the All Can, No Can't podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and our guest today was Rob Tracz. You know where to find him. And until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all-can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.